Recording, check.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here. Welcome to day 2 or day 4 of the RC, depending on if you're in NBSI. So for some of us, this is day 2, and we will be continuing the yoga all the way through Friday. So it's a joy to be here with you all. Thanks for chiming in. Go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable seated position. You're welcome to perch upon a cushion, sitting on a zafu or a pillow, a couch cushion, something of the sort, or simply cross-legged on your mat. You're also welcome to start in a chair if that's more comfortable for you. Whatever position you're in, we're going to bring our awareness into our breath. So you can let the eyes close or maybe settle your gaze down on the earth in front of you. Letting the awareness come down into the low belly, long, deep inhales and long, deep exhales. Begin to let go of your morning or your day, depending on where you're at in the world. Giving yourself permission to fully arrive in this moment. And from that breath in the low belly, let's bring our awareness down into our sits bones, down into the lower portion of our pelvic bowl. Maybe even finding that tailbone, sacrum. You can play with a position of your pelvis to try to find a way to maybe locate that tripod, the 2 sits bones and the tailbone. That tripod at the bottom of the pelvic bowl, and give us a place to reside in. Noticing how the body makes contact with the cushion or the earth. Noticing this sturdy infrastructure that can ground us down into this present moment. Letting the inhale fill this area, fill this pelvic bowl with breath, and letting the exhale ground us even a little deeper into the earth. And as we rest here, perched upon this tripod, grounding down into the center of the earth, it allows the upper portion of our body to sit like a chalice. And in this open chalice, let's give ourselves the next few moments to allow an intention to drop in. Setting this intention for not only your practice, but for the rest of your day, or maybe even your week. Maybe letting this intention be something to guide you through your semester. And we often say first thing, right thing, meaning whatever it is that pops into your awareness when I say set an intention, trust in that. You don't have to find a storyline. You don't have to justify or rationalize that intention. Simply let the deep inner wisdom of the body speak to you. We let this intention drop in first as a mental construct, kind of coming into the top of that chalice, maybe through words or images. And then letting that intention drop down into heart center, maybe becoming a felt sense, letting a somatic sensation arise. And then from here, letting that intention drop down into the low belly, coming into this place of deep knowing, trust, intuition. Relieving this intention of any mental construct or even any felt sense. Let it rest here in this space, knowing that it's fully available to you at any moment in time. And it's from this place in the low belly, deep in the pelvic bowl, that that will begin the movement portion of our practice. So ever so slightly, as you recognize this intention, resting, settling, begin feeling that grounding down into the earth. And from here, slowly allowing the next inhale to roll you onto the front sides of your sits bones, letting that belly extend with breath, letting the heart open as it rises to the heavens. And on the exhale, we'll roll to the back sides of the sits bones, resting deep into the tailbone. Belly button comes in towards heart center, chest drops, chin drops. Inhale, coming to the front sides of the sits bones. Belly opens, heart opens, and we'll bring our shoulders back, letting the chin rise, gaze coming to that place where the wall and the ceiling meet. And on the exhale, rounding the body, gaze to the belly button. Inhale, chest rises, elbows now come behind the body, palms turn to reach towards the sky. And on the exhale, the shoulders roll in, backs of the hands come together as our fingertips reach out in front. Inhale, lifting the chest, palms rise towards the sky, arms reach out at a T, lifting the heart, gaze rises. Exhale, backs of the palms come together, reaching the fingertips out away from the body, creating space on the back of the heart. Belly comes in towards spine. Inhale, open, lifting the heart. One more long breath here. On the exhale, backs of the hands come together, reach through the fingers. Interlacing the fingers here, reaching palms out in front. Our inhale brings us up, sitting nice and tall. Palms are reaching for the heavens, shoulders dropping down the back, belly strong. Long breath here. On the exhale, we'll arc to the right, keeping the sits bones grounded down into the earth. Inhale back through center. Exhale, we'll arc to the left. Inhale back through center. Exhale, letting the hands float down by our sides. We'll reach our fingers toward the edges of the mat, keeping the arms nice and active, lifting through the center of the head. Long breath here. Exhale, right ear drops towards right shoulder. Reaching through those left fingers. Slowly rolling the chin down towards the chest. And then left ear comes towards left shoulder. We're reaching through the right fingers. Slowly allowing the chin to roll back down towards the chest, and with our inhale, gaze comes back to midline, sitting up nice and tall, standing the vertebrae one on top of the other, gaze out in front. One more long breath here. And on the exhale, right arm's gonna reach up overhead. Gently bend that right elbow. Left arm's gonna come across to meet, and we'll slowly allow that left hand to rest on the elbow, fingertips walking down the spine. So just giving a little bit more information in the body here. Right elbows reaching to the sky, right fingertips are walking towards the earth. Using the belly to sit up nice and tall. You're welcome to stay right here, or to make this stretch come a little bit deeper, arc towards the left, feeling that long line from right elbow to right hip. And slowly make your way back to center, reaching all 10 fingers towards the sky. And then exhale, left fingertips drop towards the earth. Right hand comes across to meet that left elbow. Again, just a little information into the body here. We don't want to pull or press, just the weight of the hand is typically enough. Fingertips walking towards the earth, left elbow reaching towards the sky. Again, belly's nice and strong. One more long breath here. And slowly release and gently unwind. Big shoulder rolls up and back. And then changing directions, shoulders rise up and come forward. And from here, go ahead and take your time sliding off your cushion if you are on one. And we're gonna bring our feet out nice and wide. So the heels make their way towards the corners of the mat, getting right up on top of the sits bones, reaching toes to the heavens, palms come down in front. Gently letting these toes reach towards the sky, feeling the activation along the inner thighs, hamstrings, being gentle on the knees. We'll breathe here. You're welcome to stay sitting up nice and tall, or you can come to the front sides of the sits bones. Maybe letting the hands slowly walk out in front. With each inhale, we'll feel the length of the spine. Each exhale, coming a little bit farther forward. Finding a pace that feels right for you. Again, attempting to keep those toes reaching for the sky. Being nice and gentle on the inner thighs. Back off if you feel like you've gone past your edge. And we'll spend one more long breath cycle here. Again, letting that inhale lengthen the spine and letting the exhale soften through the hips, soften through the inner thighs. Gaze comes down towards the earth. And with our next inhale, slowly rising all the way back through center. We'll place right elbow on the inside of the right knee. Right fingertips are reaching for the heel or the ankle. Left arm is going to come to the sky. We'll reach through those left fingers, feeling the long lines of the body here from left pinky finger all the way down the side of the body, grounding into that left sits bone. Letting the movement come from way down at the earth as we continue arcing over, reaching the fingers up over the center of the head. Left fingers reach towards the right foot. Again, keeping that left sits bone nice and soft down into the earth. One more long breath here. And inhale, slowly making your way all the way back through center. We're going to turn to face this right foot, one hand on either side of the right leg, nice and long through the spine. And on our exhale, gaze comes down over that right knee, sternum lines up over the quads, and slowly come into a forward fold over this right leg. One more breath here. And with our inhale, gently back off, coming back to center. We're going to bend this right knee, placing one hand on either side, and then rolling over onto those left toes. Lifting through the back of the left leg, back of the left knee. We're going to settle into this right leg, coming into pigeon nice and slow. So as we settle down into the right hip, we can release the left knee, left toes, finding our nice pigeon, opening heart center out in front. You're welcome to place a bolster, block, or a blanket underneath that right hip for a little bit more support. We'll take one more breath up here. And on our exhale, slowly start to lower the body towards the earth. Maybe just gently bending elbows, maybe lowering chest towards the knee, maybe allowing the forehead to rest on the mat. Softening into that right knee, softening into the right hip. Again, if you feel like you may have gone a little too far, gently back off. Listen to your body. One more long breath here. And with our next inhale, we'll slowly begin to rise, placing one hand again on either side of this right knee. We're going to curl our left toes under, lift through the back of that left leg, and step the right foot back. We're going to make our way into plank. Strong in the belly, palms directly below the shoulders. And exhale, find downward dog. Letting the heels make their way towards the earth, maybe pedaling out the feet, and give yourself just a moment to notice if you recognize any difference between the left and right sides of the body. We'll take one more long breath here in downward dog. And with our next inhale, bending the right knee, bringing it all the way through the hands, and then settling back down into that right hip. Release the left toes. And from here, we'll gently roll back onto our sits bones. Left toes reach for the sky. Hands come down in front, long through the spine, and exhale, we'll fold forward. Gaze at the earth and breathe here. Our left toes are reaching for the heavens. And with our next inhale, gently back off, coming all the way back through center. Right foot will extend out to the right edge of the mat, getting right back up on top of those sits bones, reaching the toes to the sky. Left elbow comes to the inside of the left knee. Left fingertips are reaching for that left ankle. Right arm rises to the sky. Again, feeling that long line from the right sits bone all the way up through the right pinky finger. You're welcome to stay here or allow this right hand to make its way towards the left toes. Keeping that right sits bone pressed down into the earth. We're opening through the side body, releasing that space from the top of the right hip and the bottom of the right ribs. Opening through the QL and that low back. And with our inhale, making our way all the way back through center. We'll let this turn come from the hips and the low back as we gently twist towards the left leg, one hand on either side of that left knee. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, slowly begin to come forward, maybe allowing those hands to walk towards the ankle. We want to keep the right toes up towards the sky, preventing that right knee from rolling in. Keeping the feet both flexed, gaze can drop to the left knee. We'll find our breath here. And with our next inhale, gently back off, slowly coming all the way back to letting the hands rest on either side of that left knee. From here, we're gently going to bend the left knee in. We're going to place our hands down and roll the right toes under, lifting through the back of that right knee. Letting ourselves settle down here into pigeon nice and slow. So as we lift through the back of that right knee, it rises us up enough to drop slowly and gently into the left hip. Maybe we drop the knee and then we release the toes. Again, you're welcome to grab for a bolster or a block to settle underneath that left hip if that feels right for you. Chest rises out in front. We'll take one more long breath right here. And as we feel ready, bending the elbows, chest comes down towards knee. Again, maybe forehead comes to the earth. Settling into that left hip. Taking a couple of long, deep breaths here. One more breath. And with our next inhale, we'll slowly begin to rise up, letting that chest reach out towards the top of the mat. Palms press into the earth. And from here, we'll curl those right toes under. Lift through the back of the right knee. Step the left foot back to meet, and we find plank. Peeling the belly up and away from the earth, nice and strong in the palms. From here, gently shift your weight into the heels, pushing into the heels of the hands so that we can shift back, opening through the low legs, opening through the feet, and then coming back, shoulders directly over wrists. From here, we'll exhale into downward dog. Pedaling out the feet, shifting your weight from left to right, maybe feeling a little bit more balanced in this dog. We'll take one more deep breath here. And with our next inhale, left foot will step forward up in between the hands. We're going to stay up on those right toes, rising up for crescent. Arms reach for the sky, left knee directly above or somewhere behind that left ankle. Belly's nice and strong, reaching through the fingers, dropping the shoulders. That back leg is long and strong, but not locked out, so keeping some buoyancy in the knee. Enjoying your crescent, feeling the long line of the spine. We'll take one more breath here. And on our exhale, we're going to drop the right heel. Arms will open out in front as we land down into goddess. Toes are reaching out towards the corners of the mat. Knees are bent. Again, find what feels right for you. Maybe a straighter leg goddess is more appropriate this morning. Elbows are bent at a 90-degree, fingertips are spread wide. With our next inhale, 5-pointed star, feeling the length of the body, long in the legs, long in the arms. Engage the glutes, lift the heart. And exhale for goddess. Nice strong transition here. We're going to go crescent lunge on the right. So arms rise to the sky. We come up on those left toes. Right knee bends directly above or somewhere behind the ankle. Long in the spine. One more breath here. Feeling the strength in the belly. And with our next exhale, hands come to the earth. And we step back for downward dog. Again, you're welcome to pedal out the feet. Welcome to keep the heels up off of the earth. Rolling sits bones to the sky. One more breath. And with our exhale, walking the hands back to meet the feet, finding Uttanasana, full forward fold. From here, we'll place our hands just below the knees and lift up for a flat back, belly strong, gaze at the earth. On our exhale, fold forward. Nice and soft in the knees, fingertips drag along the mat as we rise up for chair. Reaching the fingers to the sky, sitting the sits bones back, weight is in the heels. One more breath. On our inhale, engage the glutes as we rise to standing. Letting the hands float down by our sides. Find your breath. Long inhales, long exhales. Grounding the feet down into the earth. We're finding our mountain here. Fingertips are dangling by our sides, lifting up through the center of the head. Feeling all four corners of each foot grounding into the earth. Knees are soft and buoyant. One more breath here in our mountain. And inhale, arms rise. Palms come to touch and we'll fold forward, coming all the way back down into our full forward fold. Uttanasana, letting those fingertips drape to the earth. Maybe shaking the head yes or shaking the head no. Placing the hands just below the knees, we'll lift for a flat back. And exhale, fold forward. Soft in the knees, we'll walk the hands out for downward dog. Attempting to keep those heels on the earth for as long as possible, making our way into our full dog. Rolling sits bones up to the heavens. One more breath here. And with our next inhale, right foot steps forward, up in between the hands. We'll rise up for a crescent lunge. Arms rise to the sky. Staying up on those left toes. Reaching through the fingers, dropping the shoulders, strong in the belly. One more long breath here. On our exhale, we'll come down onto that left heel, making our way into goddess. Opening through the heart. Elbows are at a 90, knees are bent. Toes are pointing out towards the corners of the mat. We're standing up nice and tall here. If you find that you're falling forward, bring your feet closer together so that that pelvis can stay upright, lifting up through the spine. Chest stays directly over the hips. Go ahead and take that modification if you need to. One more breath. And with our next inhale, strong transition, we're going to crescent to the left. We come up on those right toes, turning the hips, arms rise to the sky. Left knee directly above or somewhere behind the ankle, strong in the belly. And from here, gently allow the hands to come back to the earth. We're going to step left foot back to meet the right, finding downward dog. Sits bones to the sky, heels towards the earth. Shifting the weight back away from the hands, so we don't want all of our weight resting in those wrists. One more breath here. On our exhale, we'll release the knees to the earth, finding child's pose. Forehead to the floor, breathe here. You're welcome to allow those hands to come back by the feet, rounding the shoulders in, finding infant pose, giving those arms a rest. And with our next inhale, we'll make our way to all fours. Palms directly below the shoulders, knees directly below the hips. Shifting our weight onto the left knee, right foot will extend out behind. We're going to place the big toe edge of that right foot down onto the earth. Left hand stays directly below left shoulder, right arm rises to the sky. Reaching through the right fingers, you're welcome to stay right here, or you can bring that right leg back up off of the earth, attempting to get it parallel with your mat. We'll take one more long breath here, strong in the belly. On the exhale, releasing that right foot back to the earth. Right arm reaches up and over, bicep traces over ear. Enjoying this nice deep side bend. Inhale, right hand reaches back for the sky. And then right hand to the earth, and we come back to all fours. Finding tabletop again, strong in the belly. And shift your weight onto the right foot. Left foot extends out behind. Again, big toe edge of that left foot is going to land down on the earth. Right hand grounds down, left arm rises, reaching through those left fingers. Again, we can stay right here or bring that left leg up off of the earth, attempting to get it parallel with our mat. Find the breath, steady the gaze. And then slowly release the left foot. Left arm rises up and over. Bicep traces over ear, reaching the fingers towards the top of the mat. Enjoy this nice deep side bend. And inhale all the way back through center, and then finding all fours. Strong tabletop, belly peels up and away from the earth, long line from tailbone to center of the head. From here, we'll keep our knees and our hips where they are, and we'll let our hands walk out towards the top of the mat. Finding extended puppy, forehead comes to the earth, sits bones rise to the sky. From here, inhale up just high enough to slide this left arm underneath the right armpit. Gently lower yourself down onto that left shoulder. Right hand can stay extended out in front. If you want a little bit of a deeper twist, you can bring that right hand directly in front of your face to allow a little bit more pressure into the earth, twisting into a deeper spinal twist. Again, we're settling nice and soft into that left shoulder. One more breath. And with our inhale, pressing up again just high enough to bring the left hand back in front, finding extended puppy. Inhale, rising up just enough to slide the right arm out underneath left armpit. Again, gently lower down onto the outside of that right shoulder. We don't want to collapse into the shoulder here, moving nice and slow. Left hand can stay extended out in front or can come in front of the face for a deeper spinal twist. And with our next inhale, rising up, finding extended puppy. One more breath here. And with our exhale, walking the hands back as the hips make their way towards the earth. Child's pose. Settling into those hips, find your breath. And with our next inhale, nice and slow, we'll rise up for hero. Knees are directly out in front. We sit the bottom in between the heels. Palms come to rest on the quads. Find that midline. Stacking the spine, lifting through the center of the head, soft in the shoulders. Gaze can either be down at the top of your mat, or you're welcome to close your eyes. Really embodying this pose, settling in the humility and humbleness of our hero. And with our next inhale, rocking forward onto the palms of the hands, we're going to crisscross the feet behind us, lowering down onto our bottom, feet directly out in front. Toes are reaching for the sky, arms rise up. On the exhale, belly button comes down first. We find our forward fold, throwing those fingertips way out over the toes. The last thing to drop is the gaze. Find your breath. One more long, beautiful breath here. And with our inhale, slowly rise up, sitting nice and tall. Hands come down next to the hips. We're going to bend the knees, shifting the hips forward, and then coming all the way down onto our backs. Bringing knees with you. Hugging those knees into the chest. Maybe a gentle rock from side to side. And from here, our feet come to the earth. We keep those knees standing. Palms are down by our sides. With our inhale, we're going to lift the pelvis and shift the hips to the left, dropping the knees to the right. Arms can be out at our side at a T, maybe palms open to the space around us. You're welcome to let your gaze look over your left shoulder. And with our next inhale, standing the knees, bringing the hips back to midline, knees come into chest. We'll take a mindful head to knee or gently press the knees into the hands, tuck the chin, forehead makes its way towards the knees, opening the space between shoulder blades, releasing the back of the neck, and then gently lowering all the way down. Feet come back to the mat. And we'll pick up our hips, shift the hips as far right as we can get them. Drop the knees to the left. Again, palms are extended out by our sides, and you're welcome to gaze over the right shoulder. We'll take 2 more long breaths here. And with our next inhale, standing the knees. Bringing the hips back to midline. We'll walk our heels as close as we can get them towards our pelvis. Hands will come down by our sides, palms grounding down into the earth. A gentle tuck of the tailbone to allow the small of the back to press down into the mat. Tailbone points to that space between the knees. We imagine that we're holding a ball between the inner thighs. And with our inhale, lifting the pelvis to the sky, coming to a nice gentle bridge, palms will press into the earth. Again, we're imagining that ball between the knees, keeping those knees standing directly over the ankles, engaging the glutes, belly's nice and strong. And from here, we'll lower down 1 vertebrae at a time, letting the knees come into the chest, gentle rock from side to side. And from here, feet come to the earth, keeping those knees standing, hands by our side, Tuck that tailbone. So really start with the flat back down onto the earth. So the low belly stays nice and strong in our bridge. With our inhale, lifting the pelvis towards the heavens. Glutes are strong. Imagine that ball between the inner thighs, palms reaching into the center of the earth. One more breath. And exhale, come down nice and slow, one vertebrae at a time. Bring the knees into chest. You're welcome to rock from side to side. Maybe take another mindful head to knee, maybe a happy baby or some egg beaters. Whatever feels most right for you. And from here, our feet come back to the earth. We'll extend the legs all the way down onto the mat. Letting the feet flop open, hands come down by our sides. Gently letting the eyes close. Maybe placing the tongue right behind the front two teeth where the teeth meet the roof of the mouth, allowing the jaw to be slightly open in that rest. The eyes are heavy back in our socket, softness across the brow, softness in the temples. Letting the shoulders roll down and back towards the earth, feeling the backs of the arms, backs of the hands resting on your mat or by your side. The feet are allowed to flop open as they're being held by the heels. Awareness comes down into low belly, taking a long, deep inhale, awakening that intention that we started class with. Feeling each inhale and give a little bit more prana into the body as well as into that intention. Nourishing it, welcoming it back into our existence. And with our long inhales, that intention can move back up into heart center. Maybe feeling in the body what that intention feels like. Maybe it has a texture. Maybe a temperature. Letting that intention fill your heart center. All four chambers of the heart. Maybe feeling that intention press into the sternum and press into the spine. Maybe feeling it growing out to the sides, maybe even encompassing the shoulders, the arms, the hands, and the fingers. And then letting that intention come up into the mind, regaining its cognition, maybe giving it a word, a phrase, an image. Maybe allowing this word or phrase to become your mantra, repeating it in your mind with your inhale, letting it nourish your body on the exhale. Maybe this intention is something designed for us, or maybe this intention is something that's designed for the community, the country, the planet. Whatever audience this intention may take, allow this to come also into your awareness. Maybe allowing that intention to come deep into your midline, into your being, or allowing that intention to now radiate out in all directions. Using our breath to help navigate the pathway of the intention, keeping us aware and present in this moment. Continuing to allow this intention to move throughout your body, mind, and spirit, finding a breath cycle that feels most right for you, an image, a word, a phrase that feels most right for you. And we'll spend the next few moments resting here. If you notice that your mind wanders away from the intention, thinking, planning, remembering, attempting to do, just gently allow that to settle by your side. Being gentle with yourself, knowing that it's the inner workings of the mind at play. We can thank them for being there, thank them for coming to our awareness, and then set them by our side as we bring our direct conscious attention back into our breath, with that nourishing intention as the focal point of our thoughts. We'll gently allow this intention to settle in mind, body, and spirit. Taking this last moment to simply be and enjoy the space that you've created. Letting go of the images, the words, the thoughts. Awareness now comes into the palms of the hands, into the bottoms of the feet. Maybe creating a fist, maybe pointing the toes, maybe rolling ankles and wrists. And then simply release back into stillness. Using the breath to allow your knees to come in towards chest and gently rolling over onto one side. Taking a moment here to reorient to a new position. And allowing your next inhale to help you press up to a comfortable seated position, maybe perched upon your cushion or simply cross-legged on your mat. We'll all take a long, deep breath together, filling the lungs, filling the belly. Exhale, gently releasing, letting the breath seep out of the body. And with our next inhale, our arms will rise to the sky, reaching through the fingers, palms come to touch overhead, long, deep breath. Exhale, palms come to heart center. I want to thank you all for being with us this morning. I hope to see you again this week. Have a wonderful day at the RC. Enjoy and be inspired.